Hey Dream Chasers, this is Aimee J, your personal hype man and friend, here today on this April 12th to say, what's going on, guys? How are you doing? So, if you can tell, there are some changes to the set, like the new sign. Yeah? I love it. We're still working on things, but it's a nice addition. I think it's cool. It even changes colors. So, if you're on the podcast, you should check it out on, let's do that one. Check out on our YouTube channel, subscribe. We have some visual effects, if you will, that I think are pretty cool. But I want to talk to you guys today about a topic that sometimes we forget because we're so caught up in the moment. We're so caught up in what we're doing that we forget that consequences come after actions, right? We forget that, anytime we do something, there's going to be consequences. They may be good, they may be bad, they may be something, but there is always a consequence to an action. If you've ever watched the NBC sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine, formerly of Fox, there's a character, Gina. And Gina, in this episode, is like, how was I supposed to know that there'd be consequences to my actions? And the thing is, there are actually some people who forget that there are consequences to actions. And at that time, watching that episode, it is hilarious because we're like, no, come on, Gina. We all know there are consequences to actions. But when we're so caught up in something, when we're excited about having it, we forget what kind of consequences can occur. We can forget that the consequences that we're imagining aren't the only possibilities. Life isn't black and white, guys. There are consequences that we may not be expecting or foreseeing, but can result in what we do. So I want you to remember that, because sometimes it's hard for us to do that, especially when something's good happening and we're like, oh, there's a job offer and I can make more money. Sure. Okay. That is a consequence of you getting a job. But what else are there? There are other consequences to that. Do you have to move? Do you have to relocate? Do you have to now, is the cost of living higher than where you were previously? Is this a step up? Is it a lateral move? Right? There are more than one consequence that can occur when we take an action. So the job thing is probably the more obvious one. It's probably easier for us to remember. But when you're chasing your dreams, when you're trying to pursue and figure out what it is that you want to do, when you're trying to figure out what is it that makes me happy, that's when you need to think about all the things that are happening. I don't say this to paralyze you. And I'm not saying this to stop you from chasing your dreams. But it's important that you keep in mind the things that could happen, right? And all those things I was saying, right, about the job, about relocating, about the money, et cetera, those were just one half of it. What about the positive? Am I going to be in a better environment? Am I going to have growth potential? Am I going to meet new coworkers who will help and support me? Right? Got to look at all things, not just the negative, but the positive. And there's a third part to look at, the in-between, the stuff you're not even sure about, right? You got to think about all those things, and not just how it affects you, but how does it affect the people around you who are important, right? I'm not saying they should have a say in your decision or whether you take an action, but consider it, right? Considering it is just one part of the things you have to do, but it doesn't hurt to do, right? So the biggest takeaway from today's podcast episode that I want you to take is all actions have consequences, every one of them. Whether you decide to go out with someone, whether you decide to buy a new car, right? Everything has a consequence. In fact, they usually have more than one. So I want you to think about that when you're doing it, right? I have a dream car that I want to get. That's the action I'm going to take. All right, possibilities. I got a loan payment, right? If I can't afford to pay it all the way, I have a loan payment that I'm going to have for the foreseeable future. Can I afford that? Consequence to the action. But if I get my dream car, which is an SUV, I'll be able to do more things than I was previously because of a small car. Another consequence of an action, right? Think about what you're trying to do and expand on the possibilities. Don't let it paralyze you, but it is important that you're aware of it. All right? So that's all I want to do is share with you guys today is that there are consequences to every action. All right? So remember, aside from that, you are awesome, you are loved, you are important, and you are needed. But most of all, you are enough. Just the way you are, as you are. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, Dream Chasers, until next time, remember, don't stop. Keep chasing.